of course, there's a lot of devices that were reverse engineered by these corporations from government retrieved downcraft and extraterrestrial DNA, along with hybrid DNA from these specimens that they use to make pharmaceuticals and to make cures with and things like that. So there's always a positive and negative. They might make a gun with one thing, but the same device is used to kill cancer, on a different wavelength, but the same technology. I witnessed many different craft in these projects. I was actually working with the bodies and the craft because they're connected. A lot of the craft are organic material consciousness-assisted technology, which means only the driver or that race can actually operate the vehicle due to the frequency of the genetic DNA and the frequency that they're emitting. It's kind of like having a pet or a car that only responds to the owner. And these types of vehicles are so amazing. They're usually made in space through harmonics and frequency. So they can actually give life to a craft and infuse it with artificial intelligence or consciousness or both. Some of these craft were many different types of shapes. Of course, there's always the classic spheres, egg shapes, and the disc shapes. But there's also other craft that are interdimensional that can change shape. So they might come in the form of light, and they can manifest and change their atomic structure to become solid. So these types of crafts are a little bit more advanced, than the crafts that we hear about in pop culture, you see on TV and whatnot. These crafts can actually go interdimensional. They can change shape with all the occupants not even knowing it's happening, and then reform again in different worlds and different dimensions and different parts of the universe immediately. So there's not a down lag time because they have their own atmosphere, they have their own gravity, they have their own little space that they have projected, from this craft that keeps them completely encapsulated with it. And they have already mastered how teletransportation and all these things so the bodies can shrink with the craft in its own living space. And that's why they can go a million miles an hour and make a right-hand turn, because they don't feel it, because they're in their own, kind of like their own dimensional holographic world, where they have to fall under those scientific algorithms, such as like in the 3D here. As soon as they make themselves 3D, they have to survive in a 3D. So they have to maybe take a step down if they're from the 4D, 5D, 6D. So it's really interesting how these craft that we have had for many, many, many years, some have been there for over 30, 40 years, and some craft are very new. And we get different craft all the time. Like I said, one of them that I explained one time looked like an upside down Jello cake. And it actually, you could touch it and it felt like a memory foam mattress and had a hollow inside. This was about 40 feet in diameter, 50 feet in diameter, and it had like a 10 to 25 foot hollow inside to this, craft. And the craft was not hollow, it was solid. But for some reason, inside this opening inside the cylinder, the cylindrical, opening, where the beings actually were. And it's open, but when it activates, there's a floor appears and it forms. So, but they don't really use floors, they don't use chairs, they're just kind of there. And it's a very interesting, it's a different thing. It's not like about a lot of buttons, there's no steering wheels or cockpit like everyone thinks there is when you walk in these. They're very seamless, and they give off energy all the time, even when they've been captured and taken down for 30 years. They still emit this amazing energy that they're harvesting from within inner space. It's a really and that's what they're trying to figure out now, is how to harvest that. And a lot of them have figured this out, but there's a lot of corporations that are fighting actually for this technology. Look at us now. We're still, Elon Musk and SpaceX and NASA is still using rocket propelled technology that was probably invented by the Chinese on the first bottle rocket firework. So, I mean, we're talking hundreds of years of the same thing, just trying to improve it, make it better, when there's already anti-grav there. But they only use it not for the public, they use it behind the scenes for the secret space programs to, advance these secret space programs and keep it from the people of Earth and keep us stunted down here like slaves. Gaia, planet Earth, will do it for us. Such as what's going on in Antarctica right now. Huge meltdown. Craft everywhere. Craft are starting to stick out of the ice. It keeps warming. They only got a year left before someone's going to see a craft a couple miles long standing out of the ice. And there's a lot of private satellites out there now. I can order one right now today for under $1 million, just for me, with 4K cameras everywhere. I have these connections, and a lot of other people can get these things. Not that I have one. I've had many memorable extraterrestrial experiences, too many to count. And there are a few that did stick out, that stuck out in my memories, that stay with me for a long time. And one of them was a visitation from some tall whites in a craft. And it was one of the first times I was actually physically next to these beings and was able to communicate telepathically and get downloaded a lot of information that was needed for me to disembark on this journey, which helped me tremendously. As far as the projects, it was always fascinating every year as you get higher security clearances to also see technologies and extraterrestrials working with humans that were actually was against their will at one time, and then seeing them becoming a family and being happy that they're helping us because they feel really sad for us. So I think some of the things of working hand in hand with extraterrestrials in these underground laboratories and whatnot, and being part of these projects and seeing that, wow, they're kind of just like us. They're just a little bit more civilized and mature. And it was a really big gift for me because I picked up on a lot with their energy and a lot of their teachings and educational scientific stuff, which I was just fascinated with. To answer that question, it was just working hand in hand with these extraterrestrials. It was a blessing. And also, having special moments where you actually get to communicate with an extraterrestrial now and then to upgrade you and to also learn different sciences that didn't exist here on planet Earth. Because I was working on zero-point energy devices and getting more into that and having zero-point energy devices that actually work, and threats started coming in, and I felt threatened enough that if I did not do something, that my life was going to end very abruptly and very quick. So working in Secrecy too, it started getting, and the movie, seriously documentary, they were definitely coming at us hard. I mean, I was actually jumped by 2 agents in my hotel room, was severely beaten and hospitalized, and there's I was actually on the phone with someone that was warning me at that exact moment. There's a attack imminent on you, and a couple of the people in the higher echelon of Secrecy and with this movie. And I was, like, oh, okay. Next thing you know, before I even put the phone down, I hear this ringing in my ear. And it was so excruciating. I just remember putting my head down, dropping the phone, and I look up, and what I see after this excruciating sound in my head is 2 agents, 2 guys in suits, and they literally were beating the heck out of me. And I could not do anything. It was so bad I was hospitalized. And then I knew at that point, well, this is getting a little rough.